We're continuing with our materials introduction, and we're going to talk about the difference between compounds and mixtures. And compounds are what most of the substances are that we have, and they happen when we have chemically combined substances. Again, here we go right back to chemistry class. This is when we've chemically combined two things. And these properties are different than the two elements we started with. Easy example to understand this in is water is hydrogen and oxygen. Those are both gases. But when we combine them in this form, we suddenly get this new form of water, which could be in a gas form, but we can also have it in solid and liquids. It totally changes the properties of the original hydrogen or oxygen. This is completely different from a mixture. A mixture, when you make a mixture, no chemical changes happen. The chocolate chip cookie is still cookie and chocolate chips. They're still two totally different things. And the elements that started there, they remain with what they were before. And they don't have a defined ratio. And one way to think about it is we could still go in there and take those chocolate chips out. If you've ever eaten like a Chips Ahoy cookie, sometimes they just pop right off of there. That's what happens in a mixture. You can go back and take them apart. So here's a little example that I kind of liked. Basically, we're saying matter, and then here's our pure substances, which were our elements that we did our first part of this video on, and then our compounds. If you look at the elemental stand, here we have all helium in here. All the elements look the same. Here in a compound, the elements have bonded together chemically, and there's no way to pull those apart mechanically. You'd have to do a chemical reaction to get those apart. Mixtures are different. For instance, wet sand. This is a heterogeneous mixture, meaning that it's not mixed evenly. In mixtures, we could go back and separate out the two parts. For example, wet sand would be easy for us to apply heat and evaporate the water out, and we would completely separate them. Simple. We could also use filtration systems. Simple. Separate them out. Here we have a homogeneous mixture, and in this case we're saying tea with sugar. This we would have to do more mechanical processes to separate the sugar back out of the tea, but we could still separate it out. But everything in there is mixed evenly in there. That tea has dissolved into the sugar has dissolved into the tea, and we would have to go through and again evaporate the water off if we wanted the sugar to come out. But those are not chemical processes, those are just mixing them together. Here, in order to create water from hydrogen and oxygen, a chemical process has to be undergone. Be sure you've taken all these notes, and we're going to move on. Material selection is the term we use for when engineers are deciding what kind of materials they need to use for a specific project. And whether we're talking about a construction project like this picture here, or developing the next cell phone, we have to consider the material properties and the budget. And we're interested in these properties here. And so when we're doing material selection, we're basically looking at these four possibilities here. I've given you a handout that has a concept map on it to help you organize your notes on this section. So first we have mechanical properties. I'm not going to read each one of these to you, but be sure that you write down the mechanical properties on the concept map, and be sure that you know what each one of these means. This information will be showing up on the knowledge check you're going to take at the end of this video. So pause and take notes as much as you need. Here's the thermal properties. Again, pause and take notes as much as you need on what the thermal properties are and what each one means. Electrical properties and chemical properties.